Hey students, welcome to the Recitation 7. So today we are going to cover the concepts about like event-driven programming. So if you have already taken the lectures, I think you will have a basic idea and will be familiar with this concept. So event-driven is just like a programming diagram, and it is a program. It will be determined by the events such as user actions, sensor outputs. When I say user actions or events, what I'm saying is that actually I have a example right here. So this is like the final version, the solution for today's recitation. But just want to show a demo right here. So so this example is that there is a car company, and this company have like two divisions. One division is located in the east, and the other one's in the west. So there's like two divisions. So if I say the event could be, you put a number right here. So for the eastern division, the profit for 2019 is $1 million, and the same logic, the profit for the Western division is also like $1 million. And another event is that I click this button, the output of the two divisions, the output of the sum of these two divisions is like 100 plus 100, we get $200 million, and number will be displayed inside this text box. So I click this button, and the number will be there. And next, if I say I want to have an expectation for the 2020, okay, I want to have an estimate for next year's sales situation. So if I have a high expectation, I will have like 30% growth. And if I have a low expectation for the next year, I mean 2020, which is this year, but I will say next year. If I have a low expectation, which is 10%, the output will be different. So if I select low, it will be 200 times 1.1, because low is 10%, so 1 plus 0.1 is 1.1, right? So 1.1 times the 200 will be this number. But if I have a high expectation, which is 30%, is going to be 200 times 1.3, which is this number. Okay. So this is a very simple example for the event driven. So when I say the events, we are saying the user actions. So the behavior, I put a number inside this text box, is a user actions, and the behavior I click this button is a user action, and the behavior I select high or low, I select from one of this, it's also a user action. Okay, so I hope this example will help you understand what is event-driven programming, instead of you just remember the definition. It just I think it's useless. Okay, I hope you get the idea of event-driven. Okay, let's do a quick recall. What is JavaScript? So if I write JavaScript code, I use variables, and before I use variables, I need to declare these variables. So I could declare these variables on the first row, or we could do another way. We discussed this last week. Right? I hope you remember this. And the comments, we use // to comment something in the JavaScript code. We use // Okay, so this is semantic HTML. Okay, so I think this is going to be the only exercise we are going to do today. So it is a car company, as I said at the beginning of the class. So this company have eastern divisions, and had the eastern division and a western division. So there are like two divisions for this company. and we could get the total sales of by summing up these two divisions, and we could also have a estimate, which is an expectation for the year of 2020. We could get the expected sales by selecting. We have like high expectation or low expectation. Okay. Let's go. So I mean, if you're confused about this example, you could pause right here and just read it through. You could just watch pause and watch this video, or you could go to Canvas to download these slides. It depends on you. Okay. So if I have high expectation, it's going to be 30% increase. If I select low, it's going to be 10% a percentage increase. Okay. And to help you get started, I already downloaded. I already uploaded this file on Canvas. It's modified by me, so you could click this and download to your local computer, and just feel free to modify this file as long as you watch this video. Okay. So I have the file right here, which is this one. They are exactly the same. So this is like a starting point or the skeleton for today's exercise. So click on it. So this one is the final version, the solution for the exercise, but this one is like starting point. If I input something, there actually will be nothing right here. So the task today is to figure out how to display the result right here and how to display the result right here, just like what the solution did. Okay. So this is starting, this is ending. Okay. Okay. So I want to introduce 3 new stuff. So if we look into this picture, okay, we say there are 3 things. So the first one is a text box, so which is this white box. So if we go to website, we go to browser, we see this part, which is the text box. You input some numbers from your keyboard, and also this text box, which is going to be display to display the result of your calculation. Okay, so this white box is going to be the text box. It's called text box. And the next one is a button. So you can see this this stuff right here. So you click this little button, and the magic happens. It will do the calculation for you. So this is a button, the second stuff. And the third one, it is a radio buttons. So in this example, it is this high and low. So it's like the multiple choice. So you could only select one. Could only select high or low. You cannot check those 2 boxes at one time. You could only check one instead of check both of them. Okay. So this is a radio box. And if you open the file you downloaded from here, you could see this situation. So okay. And I hope you still remember the HTML, the basic knowledge. We have H1, which is a Parallax Motor Corp. Okay, so this is H1. The H2, sales dollar millions. Okay, so this is HTML stuff. And the next we have a P paragraph right here, Eastern division. And so before this point, we still have the old stuff of the HTML, but after this, we have a new one. We have a this text box. You could see on the browser we have a white box right here, and on the PowerPoint we have a text box, and in the code we have a and in order to show a text box on the browser, we need to use this input tag. Okay, we need to use this input. This is the new stuff. We need to use this input tag, and inside this input tag, we have the tab attribute, and the ID attribute, and the onChange attribute. So in the text box, we have three attributes: the tab, the ID, and the onChange. Okay. And in order to be a text box in the tab attribute, we need to use the text. Okay. In the quotation mark, we need to use the text. It is necessary to let this input tag to be displayed on the browser as a text box. Okay, so if you want this one, if you want to put a text box right here, you need to use the text for the tab attribute. Okay, and the next attribute is Eastern. So I think this one is like Rutgers ID. So different student will have different ID. Okay, so I mean, actually you could name it anything you want. So you could just ID equals to 1. It doesn't matter. Okay, but right here, just name it Eastern. Okay. And the reason we need to have an ID attribute right here is that we need to use the number right here because we need to do the calculation. We need to use the 100 plus 100 and to display right here. And the method to get the data inside this text box is to use the data attribute. Otherwise, there's no way to get the data from this text box. Okay, so the ID right here, it is very necessary. Okay, so this is a text box for the Eastern division, and the same logic. We have a Western division. Input tab equals to text, and ID equals to Western. And you cannot have the same ID right here. So if I have a Eastern right here, it's not gonna work because it's like two students at Rutgers, they share the same student ID. It's not gonna work. Okay, so we need to name it a different ID for this unique Western division text box. Okay, and we will cover this onChange attribute later. Right now we just don't need to use it. Okay, so this is a text box, and next one it is a button. So right here I will introduce button, this one first. So there's like two styles, two tabs of button. You could pick whatever you like. Okay, so we could look into the first one. So input tag and tab equals to button. So remember last time we have tab equals to text to represent it is a text box, but for the button you need to use the button for the tab attribute to show that you want to put a button right here. Okay, you want to put a button right here. Okay, so tab equals to button, and ID equals to, like, you just need to give a unique ID to this button. Okay, maybe to the cells, and size equal to 20. and the value is that the sentence you want this sentence to show on your button. Okay, so right here I write calculate 2019 total. I put this this sentence right here. So on the button, the sentence will be showed on it. Okay. So this is a value, and on click. So in the on click part is that once you click this button, what the code inside this on click attribute will be triggered. Okay. So in this part, we need to use some JavaScript. We need to code some JavaScript inside this onClick to be a trigger of this button. Okay. Okay, so this is a first tab of button. This is the first tab. If you like, you could use the second tab, which is you could directly put button in front of it instead of the input, and you just change a tab or button. If you like this style, you could just directly use the button. Okay, and ID equals to what, and onClick at what. So this one is like hyperlink actually. So it doesn't matter, they do the same thing. You could pick this one as a button or this one as a button. So for this Recitation, I personally like this one, so I just delete this one. Okay, just delete it. Okay. And the next thing is radio buttons. Okay, next, total sales. So this text box is right here. It will be a output. So this text box will be a place for the display. Okay, to show something right here. We don't need to input something, but for this is for output. Okay. And estimate for 2020. Okay, this part is a radio button. So same logic, we have an input tag in front of it, and the type for this one is radio, and name, ID. We just assign a different unique ID for this radio button, and on click. Okay, so this is a part we're going to write some JavaScript for the onClick attribute, which means if I click this one, something will happen. If I click this one, something will happen. Okay. I noticed that there is one new attribute, which is a name. I didn't say a name for the in the text box, or I didn't say a name in this text box or in the button. So the name attribute, it is unique. It is special for the radio, and the reason it is necessary to for the radio buttons to have name attribute is that I want, for this specific example, for this high and low, I want to make sure that they are a pair. Okay, they are paired up. Okay, so let me refresh this one. So you can say if they share the same name, I could only select one. If I select high, I cannot select low, right? If I select low, I cannot select high. So which means they are a pair. But I changed the name. They have different name right now. Refresh. I could select them at the same time. So at this time, it just doesn't make sense at all. Okay, because if I select high, by logic I cannot select low. But if they have a different name, I could select them at the same time. But this is just doesn't make sense. So I want you to make sure that for the radio button, you need to have the same name for a pair. You could have a third one. So ID goes to alright. So you can select this one, or this one. Alright. So just make sure they are in the same group. They are in a team, right? So this is it is necessary to have a name attribute for the radio button. Okay. Okay. And for next, expected styles for this one, it is still output, still display part, display text box. Okay. So input tab equals to text ID and unchanged, very normal. Okay. Very normal. Okay. And use a style to make background to color yellow. Oh, I already did that. It's body style in the style. The body background color equals to yellow. So I already did that. It's good. ID and name attribute. I hope you have distinguished between this ID and name. And name is special for radio buttons, but ID is a general, is a universal stuff for text box, buttons, radio buttons. Okay, but the name is just very special for radio buttons. And if the radio buttons have the name attribute, they could work together. When one is click on, and the other radio button with the same name are unchecked. Okay, this is the meaning of it. Okay, so let's work on this button, on this calculate 2019 total. So let's check, where is it? Button. So as I said, on this for the button, in the onClick attribute, I need to put some JavaScript code right here. So right here I have just copy this one. So this is a JavaScript code. So I declare variables total 2019 and equals to what? Because I want to do that once I click this button, the number right here will be added by the number right here, and I want to get 200 right here. So in order to get the data in this text box as well as data in this text box, I need to use the ID of it. So so I have eastern.value to get the data in this text box, and we have a western.value to get the data in this text box. And where does the eastern come from? It comes from this ID. Okay, so this ID is for this text box, which is eastern, and the western is for the second text box. Okay, so by using the reference of this ID, by calling the ID for the first text box and the second text box, we just copy and paste them right here in the button onClick attribute. We use ID.value plus the ID.value to sum this sum the data from these two text boxes together. Okay. And I think you're familiar with this number, just to make sure the data right here is a number instead of a string or something. So this is just number. Okay, so after this calculation, I get a number on the right hand side of the equal sign, and I assign this final number to this variable, to the total 2019, and this is the first row. And for the next, I get the number right here, and I assign this number to the left, to the sales 2019 dot value. And where does this sales 2019 comes from? It is from this. It is from this ID, and this one is for this text box. Okay, for the display text box. So the logic is that by using the ID right here, I get the data from these two text box and do a calculation right here to get this variable. And after a calculation, I assign the value in the variable to this ID by using the ID.value. ID.value. By using this format to transfer the value inside this variable to this text box, which is right here. Okay, so let's try. Let's try it. This one? Yeah, it works right here. So if I put 100, I get total sales right here. So we just get data from here, click this calculation, and output the final result to this text box. It's very easy. Okay. And what we need to do is just we write JavaScript code in the onClick attribute. Okay, in the button. Okay. And output to this text box, and the ID for this text box is sales 2019, which is this one. Okay. Alright. And next, it is how to calculate the expectation value, the estimate for 2020. So access importing. Okay, I think right here I could to find the radio, to find this part first, and I need to write some JavaScript inside this onClick, and for same logic also for the low. Okay, I'm going to JavaScript also for this one. Okay, let's check the solutions. So I just copy and paste this one because I think it's easy. So for the high, I declared the variable of a high increase equals to the 30%, and this is the first one. And for the next, I still call this ID, so which from this text box. Okay, I still use the ID for this text box, and I use the ID.value. I use this data to time 1 plus 0.3, which is 1.3. So I use the data to multiply the 1.3 to get the high sales, to get this data right here. And once I get the result of this one, I put it on the right hand side of the equal sign of my last row. So this is a result of high expectation, and I want to limit of this result to 2 digits after a point. So you can see right here. So there's like 2 digits after a point. So that's why I use the 2 fixed, and in the parentheses we have a 2 right here. Okay. So this is high sales, and I transfer the value right here to the left, to the sales 2020, and the ID right here is the last text box, which is this one. It is a ID for the last text box. It is a sales 2020. Okay. So this is for the high value, and for the low, we still have the same logic. Okay. I declare the low increase to 10%, and I do the calculation right here to use the sales 2019, which is right here, this text box. Use the data in the text box to multiply 1 plus 0.1, which is 1.1, and get the result right here, and limit the digits of this data to 2 after the point. Okay, so, and then I transfer the final result to the sales 2020. Still use the ID value. This ID is for the last text box, which is right here for this text box. Okay, this is a low, and I save it. No, not this one. The solution, not solution. I put 1000. Check. So once I click the low, it's going to do this part, but if I click high, it's going to do this part. Okay. So that's why I said the onClick, it is a trigger, and it will trigger the code in this attribute. So if you click this one, the code inside onClick attribute will be working. But if you click this low, and the code inside this one will be working. So yeah, this is a radio. Let's go next. Still, please remember the difference between the ID and the name. Name is very special for the radio buttons. And 1919. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, I think this is going to be it for today's recitation. We go over a very simple example, which is this one, right? It is very simple. We just have different input tag, and the first one is a text box, and second is a button, and third one is this radio buttons. And you just need to remember the different semantics, the layout of it, and how to write code for the button, how to write the code for the radio buttons. And for the buttons, you need to write JavaScript inside this onClick attribute. Same logic for this radio buttons. You need to write JavaScript inside this onClick attribute. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, and I think this is for today. Yeah.